Welcome to another episode of Bud Talk with Paulette Simone. I am your host, Paulette Simone. Now that I've gotten that out the way, for those of us who are cannabis connoisseurs, I'd like to toast to you. I have a little concoction here, a little elixir that helps with some CBD and THC that helps to soothe my stomach. I am a medical cannabis patient, and so I always root as an advocate for patients. So toast to you. Happy 420. All right. So the name of the episode, what is the 411 on 420? I have two guests with me today. You know, with Bud Talk, we like to bring the education to the table. We're not just about, you get high sitting on the couch and can't move, can't do anything. We take it to another level because this plant is on another level. The cannabis plant that I'm talking about. And today, 420 is a day that nationally, internationally, people celebrate the plant. And so I thought it would be, it would be appropriate for Bud Talk with Paulette Simone to go live and have a show and to talk about the plant and bring a message to what is the 411? What's the information? Talk to us. So I got two guests with me. One, I have a nurse with us, Ashley, and then I have also a regular cannabis connoisseur, JB Dabbin, and they're going to talk to us, both of them, about their sides of view, their points of view of the plant. They're going to talk to us about what 420 means to them, and maybe somebody will toast with us, with me, and you. And we'll see a little bit of a demonstration on how you can consume in a way that some people may not know much about, but we're going to learn about it tonight, y'all. So before I get started with my guests, I wanted to actually bring you all on to a little information that I found to be pretty informative. So we're talking about 420, right? Where and how did you hear about 420? Why is it important to you? I want you to be thinking about that while we do this episode, because that's what this is all about. It's about appreciating the plant. So as we know, it's pronounced 420. You see 420 sometimes, you see 4 with the colon 20, or sometimes 4-20, but it's pronounced 420. When you look online, basic information, when you go to Google, I just thought I put it here because Wikipedia, even though those of us who are in school we don't use Wikipedia, those of us who are just Googling things really fast, Wikipedia is very helpful. And so what they said was, their dictionary said that 420 is used to refer to marijuana or the act of smoking marijuana. So, all right, we understand that. Then it says April 20th is considered as an occasion for smoking or celebrating the smoking of marijuana. So further down, it talks a little bit about the origin, right? Now, for me, I heard about it in college, and I was just told that at 420, everybody was going to go to a certain place, and we were all going to, if you partook, that is, you would partake as a group. And it was a celebration, 420, the day, the actual April 20th. And then I heard that it had to do with cops, that was a call for marijuana usage, that was a call out, that they would call across their microphones 420 to say that there were people smoking. So I did my own research. And what I found was this information right here. This gentleman, Stephen Hager, he's an editor he was an editor over at the High Times magazine. He said that he was told, it was explained to him at High Times, that a group of California teenagers ritualistically smoked marijuana every day at 420. So I was like, okay, that sounds real. I just said that. You know, that's what I was doing at my HBCU. How did it just so happen that it was a group of white gentlemen that started this, you know, national campaign? So I looked a little bit further and it said it was also originally 420 was a counterculture holiday to protest, at least in part, the social and legal stigmas against marijuana. So I said to myself, wow, this group of Californians said that they said they have evidence to say that they're the ones who came up and coined the phrase, because apparently they would smoke at 420 every day. They would meet up at this particular time, and it became something that they used. But if this was also a part of the counterculture at this time, who was smoking cannabis and being vilified for doing it? African Americans, Black people. So while I like to believe that this group of, which I'm sure white men coined this phrase and that's where it came from, I'd also like to believe that somebody somewhere was a Black brother and something had to do with him and him smoking at 420 or something of that nature. And that's just because I always believe that we get left out of the narrative. And that's just my 2 cents. But here's the story. They apparently they coined the phrase, these Californian, they were called Waldos because they met at the wall every day. And so that's how they coined the phrase 420, and it got picked up by some different bands, and it became a part of the counterculture. And now we all celebrated. That's the end. That's what the internet says. But I would really love if there was somebody who knew more of a us story, my story, you know, and there was more maybe in-depth information about that. But that's what the internet says. But guess what we're going to do today, y'all? We're going to celebrate 420. And we're going to learn some stuff. What is important also about 420 is that it's not just a celebration, it's also a call to action. Okay. So people do a lot during 420 in terms of civil and laws and rights and so forth. And I see that this print is a little small. So I just would note that there's a couple of laws that came to the floor on 420, the date. So it's not just, you know, a couple of people who believe 420 is something to celebrate. You know, it's actually international. And again, I see that this is a little small. So if anybody is looking for this information, I could get it to them. But this is just talking about certain laws that were that came to fruition or came to pass. They were presented on 420. So for instance, the state of Colorado, they auctioned off several cannabis themed personalized license plates on 420. And it was like something that they did. This is just some information. So what does it mean to you? Think about that. I'm getting ready to join and bring in my guests because it's time for them to talk a little bit about what it means to them. What does cannabis 420 mean to you? So I'd like to bring my guest on. Ashley, hello. Hey, JB.
Hey.
How are you both?
Good, awesome.
Very good, very good. So I wanted to bring you all both on and to talk to me a little bit about what 420 means to you. But I know that I want to introduce you to my audience. I wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself. So Ashley, if you would, please introduce yourself to my audience.
I'm muted. Sorry, I was muted.
Here it is. I know, I saw that right there. Are you unmuted? I think you're unmuted now.
Okay, cool. So I'm Ashley. I've been a nurse for 12 years. I've spent the past 3 years researching and learning about the plant and getting into the space. My husband is actually the patient in this situation, and he's my patient. So around 2018, well, let's go back even before that. So I was the nurse who was like, If your THC came up dirty, I was like, that they dirty, they, doing whatever. Like, let's not spend a whole lot of time on that person or whatever. And that's pretty much the culture in healthcare. So fast forward to about 2018, that's when I started doing research, and 420 was always a part of our personal lifestyle, just because my husband was totally into it, and I'm like, I support you, babe, whatever you do, that's what wives do. And around 2018, that's when I started doing my own research and like really looking into it, besides like just consumption because I want to consume, or that stigma that really drives the way that we think about the plant. I was like, oh no, there really is something to this here. Like, there's some real science behind this, like, and there's a lot of missing pieces to this situation. And I would like to tell everybody in my audience specifically, or my nursing colleagues, about the plant. So what 420 means to me, for me, it's a celebration. Like, I love to watch everybody just be so excited. I love the memes that come out. I love the respect that the plant gets and deserves. And I think that it's amazing to be a part of this culture. I mean, it's all of it. Like, I'm here for it all. Like, I'm here for the positivity. I love going to events, cannabis events, and it's so mixed and diverse. Like, this is one industry where it's not just them or us or whatever. It's all of us, and we're coming to celebrate the same thing. We're coming to respect the same plant, and it's changed so many people's lives. So that's what it means to me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to JB Dabbin. I'm going to ask him what 420 means to him. And then I want to come back to you because I want to pick your brain.
Okay.
Yeah. There's your nurse's brain, my audience. We came here today to celebrate the plant. And so I definitely want to get some more information. So let me grab JB, and I'm sorry, audience, I had you twirling around a little bit there, but I think I might have figured it out. So let's add JB. What does the plant mean to you? What does 420 mean to you, JB?
So 420.
And I'm sorry. Also, please introduce yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is JB Dobbs. I am a professional musician. I've been playing instruments for about 16 years. Have a degree in it and everything. And a couple of years after it, I just got into real estate, and the rest was history from there. I started working with my dad. We got really good at what we were doing, and now I'm able to work from home. But my journey into cannabis didn't start until my last year of college, and it was a little difficult to pay for, so I didn't think I was going to graduate. So I started smoking, and it started as a stress relief. And it actually wound up becoming my savior, because I realized that I was very, how you say, high energy all the time, like literally from like start to finish, waking up at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, working out and never being tired all the way until it's time to go to sleep. So I knew that there had to be something for that, because I was taking like, sleeping pills. I tried like different sleep sedatives and different things like that. It didn't work out. So I started smoking and cannabis, and what wound up happening is I got engulfed into this culture.
Yeah.
In school, I went to UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I love them so much, man.
Great.
They're a school that helps people to broaden their horizons, and they don't limit you in any aspect. They want you to go out, in the safest way possible and do things. And basically, long story short, cannabis, I've been smoking for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
I just got into dabs about a year ago.
Okay.
Concentrate, to be exact. And it's been taking me on a journey, and the journey that I've been on is basically explaining to other investors, such as myself, that you can still consume cannabis without having to smell like, the flower, which is the fear actually, because a lot of people are trying to get off of like pills and different things like that. So a lot of them like, no, I don't want to do it, but I feel like I kind of need to, and I like the way it smells, and so I'm like slowly but surely introducing people and showing that there's a better and cleaner way.
Gotcha. Perfect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, at the top of the show, hopefully we'll be toasting to each other. Happy 420. I think you answered this, but just so I don't miss it, what does 420 mean to you?
So 420 means to me. As I was saying, I got engulfed into the culture in college. A lot of different diverse group of people came to me like in my time of need, and it was just like, hey man, do you know about like smoking? Have you ever smoked? Do you know about 420? As the year go on, the school year go on, you're like, hey, have you ever been to Hash Bash? And I'm like, what's Hash Bash? And they mentioning different things like Zazapalooza and all these different bud events that are only about 20 miles away from us in DC, and it's just like, man, so it's now a holiday to me. It's a legit, like, y'all gonna think this is crazy, but Christmas and my birthday and every other holiday and every other day is for my family. 420 is for me. Okay.
I hear you. Listen, I totally hear you. The plant, there's room and reason to celebrate. And so, I think that actually gives me a perfect segue, because the reason, there's a reason why we celebrate the plant. And it's because of the way that it connects with our bodies and what it does with our bodies. And it helps us so much that those of us who have partaken or who do partake understand that feeling and understand the benefits. And so the perfect segue is to Ashley, because Ashley, I want to ask you, what is that? And, of course, audience, we know certain things, because here at Bud Talk, it's about education. So about every episode, we talk about the endocannabinoid system. We talk about, terpenes. We talk about, but it's never enough information, and it's never enough for somebody who wasn't listening the last time to get it. And so Ashley, talk to us about the chemistry, the holistic, what is happening in our body, and why is JB, why is he feeling better, and why was he able to feel better back in college and now? Like, why am I feeling better? Talk to us. Oops.
I'm unmuted.
Right. It's so funny. Here we all are a year later, and it's the mute button that gets us, right? No worries. But yes, please talk to us.
So from the simplest concept, the plant is a living thing. And just like we're living things, it does have its own vibration. And people really connect with that vibration. It's like, like attracts like, and we are so much alike compared to the plant is crazy. So you mentioned the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system is a neuroreceptor system, and it's the largest one we have in the body. I mentioned earlier that in nursing school, like when I came out, I didn't know anything about it. I saw THC in your system and I just kind of brushed it off. And it's because I didn't know there was an endocannabinoid system. Because they don't teach it in nursing school. But anyway, so the cannabinoids that are in the plant are very closely in relation or are similar to the cannabinoids that we actually have in our bodies. So we have two of them, 2-AG and AEA. And both of those cannabinoids, we call those endocannabinoids because they live in us. They're there all the time. It's an on-demand release where basically if you need it to create homeostasis or balance, it releases. sometimes, and if not most times, people are imbalanced because we don't release those cannabinoids. We don't practice balancing activities, things that help release those things. So sometimes we need to jumpstart our endocannabinoid system. And most people, when the first time that they've tried cannabis is the time where they're like, they had the most response, where they're like, oh my gosh, like I felt relaxed for the first time. Oh my gosh, I was able to pay attention to, my breathing. I was able to pay attention to this or that. It's this very almost enlightening response. And it's almost, the way it's described is what they should be experiencing on a day-to-day basis. But because they're going through this deficiency, they're not,
Right.
So when you consume those cannabinoids, and and everybody's different. So the combination of cannabinoids that you may need, the amount of cannabinoids that you may need to use, is very dependent on your lifestyle, your body composition, all of those kind of things. And there's no one way to tell somebody to do this, right? But once you consume those cannabinoids, and mostly THC, which everybody's scared of, they like, THC, bind to your endocannabinoid system, and the description that you'll hear most frequently is that lock and key system, where the key is the cannabinoid, which is the THC, and it binds to the lock, which is the receptor in the endocannabinoid system. And when they bind, that's when it's able to do its job, which is to create balance, to give you homeostasis. And even the idea of balance sometimes gets people a little hemmed up, because it's not balance like standing on your feet balance. It's more like balancing, I have the proper amount of awareness to receive information and put out energy in order to function most optimally, if that makes sense.
Right. Absolutely. It does make sense. And for someone who is like, I mentioned a medical cannabis patient, for me, the lock and key is the inflammation. And so for me, when I have CBD, the right, amount of CBD to THC in my system, it helps to clear up inflammation. And so I don't have to use pharmaceutical medication to have my, my body be less, because the cannabis, because the all the cannabinoids, it's not just THC and CBD, it's cannabinoids, because it's the entourage effect, that is really doing it. And when we say entourage effect, audience, we're talking about THC, we're talking about CBD, CBG, CBN, terpenes, and these are all of the wonderful compounds that are the cannabis plant, which we are celebrating today.
Yes.
And, I want to get exactly right, Jay. I want to get you back on, because we talked about the endocannabinoid system, and we're talking about feeling that balance. So now you're in college, you're feeling balanced, you're starting to use cannabis. How do you know about THC, CBD? How did you learn this information?
So what I did is, that's a great question. The way I learned, of course, as most of us learn, you have a friend, you have a homie, and they explain their experience first, and as a community, that's what we all love to do. We all love to do it. So I realize, as everybody is explaining to me their experience, I am taking it all in. It's not going in one ear and going out the other. I'm taking it all in. And I'm being very aware and conscientious of the way that I would like my experience to go moving forward throughout my life. Because for some people, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this for the time where I need it. And then that's it. Now I have kids and grandkids. Hey, I remember when I used to do that, and that's some people. And then there's others like, listen, this has been extremely beneficial to my life. And now it's like, I need this forever, but
Right.
you know, it cannot consume my life. And that was the thing that I didn't struggle with. It was a science. It was like, you know, you got to figure it out. Like, okay, you can't let it consume you. So what I did was I would use it as an incentive. You know, so, and you know, which it was like the perfect thing, because it was something that you wanted, you know, you needed, but it's like, make yourself work for it. And that was my perception. And
that was what was helpful for you.
Yeah, it took me out of the realm of myself. It brought me to the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and that took me on the train to 50 other books that I could just sit here and name and talk about. But it literally took me on a journey, and now I could never replace what's happening.
Right. And, I appreciate the fact that you have the story that is so unique to, your experience in terms of why you need it, why it worked for you, and so when Ashley is talking about the body and how, I don't want to cut you all off. When Ashley is talking about the body and how the endocannabinoid system is like that lock and key, I wonder, Ashley, like, how is it that JB isn't able to find medical cannabis at the ready? Is there a difference between what he is able to consume and what medical cannabis is?
No, it's all the same. It's just a concentrated version of it. So more cannabinoids at a given time, which is, the concept of it being called a concentrate, is a concentrated amount of the cannabinoids at one time. So, to be honest with you, there's no way to overdose, because it goes in and it binds to the cannabinoids that are available for the cannabinoid. You can increase and build up those receptor sites over time, and whatever isn't used by your body, it'll circulate through your body, and then it'll break down by the enzyme. So that's the other piece of the endocannabinoid system that a lot of people don't really talk about. There are enzymes associated with it. And the other piece of it is some of those cannabinoids bind to other receptors in other body systems. So, for example, CBD can actually bind to the same receptor as your serotonin inhibitors, like what's one? I can't think of the name of it.
Like those cytos, like the CYT.
No, not the cytokines, but it's what you take for depression. I can't think of an exact one, but they call it
SSRI.
Yeah, SSRI. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. SSRIs.
Right. So, and I wanted to say one just so for the audience.
Oh, like Paxil. So Paxil audience would be an SSRI. Zoloft, I believe, it's SSRI. Yes. So those are the antidepressants that you usually hear about on the market.
So they actually bind to a specific receptor, which help with your depression. CBD actually binds to that same receptor site.
Exactly.
And which is why it can help with depression. And it's the same with other receptor sites throughout the body.
Exactly. Well, thank you giving us all the knowledge, because it's interesting. Like I said at one point, this information is just invaluable. We always need to know more about what it is we're doing and what we've done for centuries. This is not new. The plant is not new. Some of the methods that we're doing, that we're using, are new to us. And so we need to be educated. And so that is also why I wanted to have not only our, book smarts, so to speak, but I also wanted to have JB on the line, because he's using the product, and I do too, but he's using it in a way that I think that people don't know about. And so that's why I want to actually go over into and so one thing it's important, I think, for as we celebrate the plant, is to understand some things, a couple of things, audience, about the plant. One is that Cannabis, it does not do well with water. It is not a plant that does well in water. It is insoluble. It's lipophilic. So it's actually does very well, lipophilic, excuse me. It does very well in oils, right? So when you have tinctures or drops and so forth, the reason why it's in those oils is because the cannabinoids, which is what we love about the cannabis plant, is separated best by or extracted best by oils and alcohol as well. And so one of the things that people many of us who are just familiar with flower or smoking the plant, which is what marijuana is, the cigarette plant, don't realize is that there are other ways to consume. There's, like I said, there's drops, and there's tablets, there's concentrates. So fast myself forward. And that's where dabbing comes in, right? And so Ashley, I didn't say at the beginning how I know this guy, because it's just such an interesting story that him and I we actually met at the T-Mobile store, where we were both getting our phone service, and I saw this wonderful. I saw this. I was trying to get it so you could see his logo on the back of his sweater, and it's like a mushroom, and it's like a guy's. It's so unique. And so I said, "Oh my goodness, I have got to talk to this guy." Yes, that this gentleman. And so I said, we were talking, and both of us, we were, just really talking and educating each other. And I've dabbed because I have chronic ulcerative colitis, and it's chronic. And so I have very, very sharp pain sometimes. And dabbing will help with that because it's very, very high doses. And so what it does is it kind of blasts the pain. And so he was talking to me about what he does. And I said, I want to spend a day with Dabbin Daddy. And so, this guy, he brought me into his setup. He showed me his works, all of his the area that he has set up with everything, all laid out and it all sterile. And he just showed me how you go about heating it. So dabbing, talk to us about what dabbing is, and bring my audience in on a new method that they may not know about.
Okay. So all right, I'll explain. In a nutshell,
was that story okay?
That was perfect. That was wonderful. I love it.
Okay, go ahead. Please tell us.
So, as my colleagues are explaining, dabbing is basically a concentrated form of consuming THC. We normally consume our cannabinoids and our THC through our flower, what we call flower. And you'll notice people that use a lot of concentrates tend to call flower a lot. That's what I noticed with the 710 community. So basically, dabbing is a concentrated form of consuming cannabinoids. The thing that you want to be educated on is how to and different ways to dab, because for example, if you're used to smoking flower, and let's say you smoke 1 or 2 doobies a day, and that gets you, I guess, feeling the sense of euphoria for about, let's just say 3 hours, 3 to 6 hours. If you dab, in comparison, it'll be like a half a day, like 12 to 24, because you're consuming it at a much quicker rate. And like they'll tell you not to actually hold it. You actually inhale and exhale, because like literally as soon as, and that's a misperception in the cannabis community, that you actually have to hold smoke for a long period of time for you to get super high, and then you cough, and then when you cough it gets you higher. Actually, there's a science behind it, which is basically oxygen. The oxygen in your brain, when you do wind up holding it, basically it does the same thing a rig does, with a Puffco, or any one of these things. Though it does the same thing inside of your body, where it holds the smoke if you decide to hold it in. Now you're not getting any higher, you're just kind of suffocating your brain just a little bit. It's not really a bad thing, but at the same time, if the whole point is to have that sense of euphoria, then inhale, exhale. It's no different from a hookah or vaping or something like that. But the difference is you will immediately feel the sense of euphoria, and you probably should sit down.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you were able to show me the flow and how you have to heat. You excuse me. You want to heat the terpenes, the sauce, or whatever the product is, to a certain temperature so as to not lose the benefit of the plant. And so you showed me how to do that so that when you do inhale, you are getting the best of it. So you don't want to hold that in and disrupt your lungs, which we already know is happening, because it is combustion on the lungs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when you are doing and using these beautiful contraptions I see behind you and so forth, what is the products that you're using? What is it that how do people use that?
Okay. So the basically the products that I'm using are basically products that filter water through or filter your concentrate and or flour through water. All right. And that's pretty much the idea behind any product, unless you use something that doesn't really require water, which would typically be for flour, because dabs normally tend to take or filter through water normally.
Right.
People do dry dabs very faithfully. So if we have anybody from the 710 community I love you guys. But basically all you're doing is you'll grab your concentrate, and concentrate comes in a few different forms.
Yep.
I'll just tell about a few of them. You have batter, you have shatter, you have crumble, you have sauce, and you have live hash rosin, and the list kind of goes on.
It goes on and on and on. And actually, it's funny because I would have brought some on to show the audience, but I wasn't even thinking about it. But I know you do. But at the same time, these things, when you become a medical cannabis patient, they're all available to you on the medical cannabis patient side. You just need to, go through that process, and you can find shatters, which is the compressed cannabis, the resin that comes off of the compressed cannabis, or it's homogenized in such a way that sometimes it can look very creamy, or it can look very like a sheet of glass. But it's all concentrated cannabis. And so you use that, and then you put it in one of your devices, and then you smoke it. So let me bring Ashley back in, because I want to ask her what she thinks in terms of the chemistry of the plant, right? Is it meant to be used in these different ways? I know there's some who will have something to say, talk to us a little bit about the medical, with the chemistry of it all. You can unmute yourself on this one. Right.
I'll get this right eventually. So from a medical perspective, I kind of touched on it earlier. It's very individualized. So from my point of view, concentrates can be useful, which is why they are available in the medical market for very, very difficult to treat symptomatology. So, seizures tend to be a big one, and you intentionally want to build up tolerance in order to get that access to the THC so it can do what it does. Cancer is another one, and it does. Some people think it cures cancer. It doesn't. It just slows down or stops the process of the cancer growing.
Right.
But again, in that situation, you will want those large amounts of THC inside the body circulating to kind of slow that down. So it's very based on what outcomes you're looking for that person, and that's how, as a nurse and making sure I stay ethically and morally balanced, that's how I would advise my patients.
Yes, yes, and I do the same with my clients, because those high doses of THC, there are studies that show, that there are some ill events that have taken place at those high doses. So we have to be very mindful of when we're doing that, because you don't want to you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have an adverse effect. And that can happen. And this is not, anything that we haven't heard before. And it's always, always, I think, important to talk about the truth of the matter. And that's why we're celebrating today. We're celebrating 420. We're celebrating the plant. And it's all about, giving information about, why we love it and why it's so helpful. So I want to open the floor up to the audience as we come into our last few minutes here with you guys. I wanted to ask the audience if they had any questions, for us. I have, a nurse here, a professional who has been doing this for over 10 years, and then I have Dabbin, Daddy over here, who is very much involved in the community of dabbing, and he, excuse me, while I'm trying to push, him to get his medical cannabis card, he is. Uh-huh. Yep,
You done told on him, Paulette.
Gotta do it. Yep. I'll do it.
And it's
tomorrow.
Listen, it's important only because we want to make sure that we are, in the right place at the right time,
And so, not only that, like, you want to have, I mean, I'm not going to say the medical market is perfect, but at least you have some type of information about what it is you're consuming.
Yeah. And there's access to more, more things. And, so, I think, to me, he would be just great in the community, the industry already, with all the knowledge he has. I couldn't imagine why they wouldn't want to use him for a lot of things, so that's just my plug.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, much appreciated. I appreciate you being on the show. So if anybody in the audience has any questions, please ask, feel free. Let's see here. I got something coming in. Okay, so I have a question for Ashley.
I know they was gonna ask me.
Right. How often do you talk with your patients about medical cannabis?
Almost daily. It's not a day that doesn't come out my mouth where I'm not talking about cannabis.
Okay. I wonder if they're wondering, like, do you do any what are they, the recommendations and so forth?
No. So I'm a RN. I'm a registered nurse. So I'm not legal to certify patients. But what I do is just provide the education for patients in order for them to make informed decisions. So if you have any specific questions about, where to start, if you're not interested in like what ratios you should be looking for, what products you might be, need to start with, it's an individualized process. And, what I do is just shorten that process. People spend years trying to figure out what works for their body and, not getting the results that they need. So it's just me giving you advice on how to best pick your products.
Perfect. All right, dabbing. Will you be dabbing?
Sure, I can do a dab for you guys to show you.
All right, I would love it. So let me get here. I'm a remove that, get us down to the bare basics here. So the reason why I think it's important for people to see, and you go ahead and set up that, what it's all about is because, again, like I said, and like you said, the education, it needs to be there on the fact that this is an option. This is an option for people when it comes to consuming. And it's an option for definitely high level pain. This is not something that you want to sit around and do all day. But it's definitely something that is a helpmate when it comes to bringing, if you want to elevate your mood very fast. Very helpful in that regard. So talk to us about what you're doing and where we are.
So first, to let you guys know, when you first do a dab, if you're first getting introduced to it, just in case you have any friends that's like, hey, try this. When you first get introduced to a dab, the biggest thing you want to do is you want to understand temperature. All right. Now you don't need to do a whole study about temperature or anything. But what we have is like terp timers and temperature gauges. You can use a regular food grade temperature gauge, but you will actually have to hold it underneath. Terp timers allow you to just sit them down. And the equivalent, once I do a dab, the equivalent to one small piece of dab is like 5, 6, 7 J's. Like, so one tiny piece of dab will have you fine for the whole day. Like complete sense of euphoria. Like complete sense of euphoria. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut our terp timer on. It has a little bitty beautiful laser. Look at that laser. It turns green when you're at temp. So you can set your temperatures to pretty much whatever you want. But we have different temperatures in our 710 community. So you have low temp, mid temp, and you have high temp. High temp is when you start getting into the 670 range and up, or 650. I mean, it's debatable. You have low temp, which is like, your 300 to 500, and then you have your mid temp, which is about 500 till about 600, something around there. I like to do low temp dabs because you taste the all of your concentrate, as well as you enjoy your sense of euphoria. You're enjoying what you're actually doing. You're not hurting yourself, and you can kind of pace yourself. You can reheat and different things like that. So now we'll stop talking and we'll do it. Right, terp timer up, water is in. What we will do is what we call a cold start. That is when you put a piece of concentrate, this is shatter, into your banger, which is here, and heat it up. You let it melt. Once it's heated, you say cheers.
Whoa. Woo. Whoa. Sure. Wow.
Wonderful. And if you do it right, sometimes you'll cough. A lot of times, a lot of people cough. It's nothing wrong with coughing. Nothing is ever wrong with coughing. Let that oxygen come on in, but just try to take in as much as you possibly can.
I just coughed for you. Did you see that?
I did.
See that? Wow. That was impressive, brother. That was an impressive thing you did there.
Thank you so much.
Very, very, very beautiful process you have. And I love that you talk about the temperature, because terpenes, and again, fam, when we talk about terpenes and we talk about THC and CBD, these are compounds, it's chemistry. This is not just Crayola. This is chemistry. And so things have to be heated. Things have to be heated at certain temperatures in order for them to be activated. When we talk about making edibles, we talk about decarboxylation, which is heating, the flower to a certain temperature so that you can get the best of the cannabinoids, so that when you do, make it make an edible, that it's, evenly measured. There's just a lot of things that are at play here, and we just want to be educated. You see the light came in. It's the night. It's nighttime now. It's 4:20 at night. here at Paulette Simone, Bud Talk with Paulette Simone, it gets different at night. So we just had our dab and Daddy showed us how to dab. Ashley, I'm going to bring you in here because we're coming to the end of the show, and I want to bring you in because did you see our brother over here showed us?
I loved your response. You were like, "That's impressive."
Right. Seriously, I just wanted to mention we did have a question for Dad. Question is it better? And I'm gonna I'll say the question now. Is it better to smoke flower or concentrates for Dab and Daddy? And so I'm gonna just say, I'll just jump in first, only to say that that's gonna be relative. That question, that is really gonna be relative, because again, we talking about medical, is it the best option for people to consume? Probably not, because we're talking about microdosing when we're talking about kids. And that's not a microdose. Like he said, that'll last you all day, but when it comes to recreational, or comes to being able to
just have a good time.
live and have a good time and talk and have a good time with your friends. That is it right there. That is going to have everybody chit-chatting all night long. And so, or looking at TV and being very amazed by things, but it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. And so I just wanted to bring you back in, actually, because I wanted to say thank you to you both. Thank you for coming on the show, Bud Talk with Paulette Simone. You are both really, I believe, enlightened my community, my audience, our community, because this is the cannabis community, and this is all of us. And so thank you for coming on the show.
Of course.
Yeah. So talk to real quick. Tell us how people can meet you, Ashley. If they want to have you on their show, or if they want to talk to you about their nurses and getting trainings and so forth. Talk to me. How can people reach out to you?
So I'm on Instagram, Cannabis Nursing Solutions. I am also, you can email me, cannabisnursingsolutions@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, Canna Nursing Solutions. I think that's it. And best way is to email me. Just email me, cannabisnursingsolutions@gmail.com. If you Google me, you can find me that way too.
Okay. Nice. I love a good Google. And
yes.
All right. So JB, talk now. I know you have like an audience. Like Jay, he has like a little like people watch him dab. Like Jay DabbinDaddyTTV. TTV. But how can people watch you and get in touch with you and so forth? Well, and I know you said you're a musician as well, so we don't want to.
Yeah, no, y'all good. Man, shout out my man Ron J. That's a couple of my guys in the chat asking those questions.
Great.
Just I know Ron's new to dabbing, so I'll answer his question.
Yes, please.
All right, so his question is it better to smoke flower or concentrates for Dab and Daddy?
Right.
personally, as an investor, I cannot smell like flower. This is why I am so head first concentrates, because I can do, when it's time to do it, I can do one and be fine for the rest of the day.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So it's a different, like you were saying, it's different for everybody. For me, it's a professional reason, as well as I'm not consuming as much as I would flower, and on top of everything, my wife does not like the smell of flower at all. Like at all. She like, do your thing, baby. I love it. But she don't like the smell of flower. so concentrates is like, I like this. This smells good.
Sorry.
No, you good.
We dropped out for a second. We're still here though. Go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, so and it's not that concentrates doesn't necessarily have a smell, but it smells a lot better than flower would. You can ask Miss Paulette, when she was sitting here, it was just, when we tasted grape 8, it was just like a candle, like annihilator was burning. Like it was wonderful. Yeah. But that's just that, professional. So that's for you, my man Ron. As well as Miss Trina. I saw your question come up.
Yes. Thank you. How can people reach out, or how can people, learn about what you have going on?
All right. So you can find me 2 ways. You will only find me 2 ways. I am DabbinDaddyTTV. That's DabbinDaddyTTV. One word on all platforms. Any platform you can think of, type in DabbinDaddyTTV. Or you can find my real estate entity as JB Dobbs Real Estate Investments, LLC.
Perfect. Well, I think, excuse me, I really want to, thank my guests. The night has fallen upon us, so I have my golden hue has come to life here. I want to thank everybody for joining the call today. Bud Talk with Paulette Simone is really, ramping up, and we really have had some wonderful guests. I'm just impressed by everybody who's come on and who's talked to me and told us about, their footprint in the industry. And so, I'm just appreciative. And so tonight, I'm just thankful that you all watched, and I'm thankful that my guests were here. You can reach me at PauletteSimone.com, and that's also at P.Smith at PauletteSimone.com. If you are interested in having this show talk about something that you want to hear about, please talk to me. Tell me, give me some feedback. Give me some topics that you want to hear. I want to take a little time to kind of to make the show a little bit more for you. So tell me what you want to hear. I can be reached again, like I said, at PauletteSimone.com. And that's PSmith at PauletteSimone.com. Thanks for listening. It's been Paulette Simone, Bud Talk with Paulette Simone. Have a good night.